Michigan Pirates. Welcome to your Discourse Syndicate, and I am the captain, RG3, coming to you, bringing you chatting with the captain. So this show's a little different than our Friday night hangout, the FN Hangout, which is just you guys coming in, talking about all kinds of different subjects, having fun, cutting up and doing all that stuff. This is a show where we're actually doing real life suit and tie interviews with the financial world, health world, you name it. We're doing some cool stuff, meeting some really interesting people and trying to solve some of the problems of the world. And tonight I am so absolutely excited to have this guest on. And I'm going to be honest, frank, and transparent here. I know these names, but I don't spend a lot of time listening to a lot of them. A lot of them are financial gurus and real estate moguls, and they teach all of these things. I was never that guy. You know, I was the guy who experienced macroeconomics because I was a working stiff. You know, I worked for 30 years breaking my back, and all of this stuff affected me. So I know what was going on. I know what was happening because I saw what it did to me. But these guys are actually making solutions. And one of the biggest problems that's out there, in my opinion, is that the money's broken and the money needs to be fixed. And I thought cryptocurrency was to do that. And now there finally is a possibility that it can because of Hex. And that's what we're doing here. That's the bridge we're trying to gap. Get away from all of these speculative bullshit cryptos that we've spent the last 11, 12 years dealing with, and now showing viable solutions to economic problems that the world faces by introducing Hex to the world. Now we're actually making those in-routes for the first time. We're actually talking to macroeconomic gurus who understand what's going on out there. And this guy here, I've watched a handful of his streams over the last few days, and he really gets it. So I'm excited to have this interview with him and bring him on. So what I'm going to do first, though, is bring our man who is actually making the in-routes. So everybody knows this guy, Gary Funding Jim. He is out there like pounding the pavement, traveling the world. I mean, the guy's on a plane every single freaking week, going somewhere else, talking to somebody else, trying to bring him to Discourse Syndicate, bring him to the table so that we can talk to them and start introducing the world to how crypto is supposed to work. What's happening, Gary?
Still in London, man. How's it going?
I know. I see the that was my hotel room. Gary and I stayed at the same place. It's a beautiful. If anyone goes to London and you want to stay at a really nice hotel, it's N How Now Hotel is just absolutely the freaking best. Go get a suite up there. You will not be unsatisfied. That's for sure.
Yeah, they don't skimp on anything. They've got art in the lobby, and it's very interesting. It was a great venue for the past week and such. But now, as many people are returning home, you had a flight that you really just dashed in the door in time to hit this in time.
I literally skidded into my driveway as I turned the stream on and was like, my green screen's not even up. So it's like, nice. Sorry guys, we're not on the pirate ship. We're in the guest bedroom.
So without much more ado, I do want to introduce Jason. Jason's a terrific guy.
Please
do. Personally, regular friend, that sort of thing. Just very well calibrated, excellent communicator. But his expertise is in real estate, macroeconomics. His expertise is something he's done 20 or longer years. I'm sure he'll tell more of his origin story in this as well. So I'm really happy that he's going to be sharing his perspective as we go into 2022 and beyond. You know, he's part of the collective, and I met these people because I was invited to. I thought that was pretty nice. I went to a Rebel Capitalist event. Coffee and I went to that back in May. And then Jason and I had really good conversations. It led to being part of this collective advisors group. We had a wonderful time out in Scottsdale that they organized, that Ken McElroy and George Gammon and Jason really put their sweat into making a really nice event for us. So I'm really happy that we got to spend time that way. And then, you know, getting to know more of their background and their knowledge base, sharing it with, you know, people that we care about in Hex or beyond. I've been in real estate, but I certainly do not have the expertise that Jason does. So I'm really looking forward to some of the things he's got prepared for us for tonight. So without much more, I do want to introduce Jason, and then I'll step off and let you guys chat as you often do.
Let's bring him up then, ladies and gentlemen. Jason Hartman, how you doing, sir?
Hey, doing well. Good to be here. I like your intro.
Oh,
Cool.
thanks. It's a little unique in the financial space, I would imagine.
It is. It is very cool.
So how are you? How's your day going?
Good. It's 10 p.m. here in Florida, or a little after 10 here in Palm Beach, Florida. But that's nothing compared to where Gary is in London. It's like 3 o'clock in the morning. So really late for him.
Oh, that's nothing for him. He's been playing at 3 o'clock in the morning for the last week straight.
Yeah.
Well, with that, I'm going to be watching in the background. If you want to step me down, and then I'll maybe at the very end, just say goodbye to the Hexicans at the end of your program. I'm going to watch with intent ears.
All right. Thank you, Gary. Thanks again.
Gary.
For all the good work. Jason. All right. So let's get right into introductions. I know Gary introduced you, but could you give us a little breakdown of your history, how you ended up into finance and real estate and then became a podcaster trying to teach things, and why you did that?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. So I basically have been interested in real estate ever since I was 16 years old. I got my real estate license in my first year of college when I was 19 years old. And it's been my lifelong career, really something centered around real estate. And I always loved it because it is the most historically proven asset class in the entire world. Now, cryptocurrency is getting pretty interesting, but it's only been about 13 years or so. So we'll see where it goes. And I'm sure we're going to talk about that tonight, but I couldn't agree with you more that we've got to fix the money. So just back to the sort of the origin story. So I was in traditional real estate for many years. I did extremely well at that. I was one of the top agents in the world for Remax at a very young age. I bought my own company. It was later acquired by Coldwell Banker. That was in Southern California. And I got into the investment side of the business because I wanted to create a financial services firm for real estate investors. Why is it that investing in real estate is such a disjointed, fragmented thing? Why can't there be one place you go where you can discuss with people investing in the entire country, or for that matter, in the entire world? And we provide that. My company, The Empowered Investor, provides that. So I got very interested when I got into the investment only side of the real estate business in macroeconomics. And I came up with some strategies that were very unique, totally my idea. They came out of my own head about real estate, about how to value it, about how to understand it, about how to leverage it, and to make it work as hard as possible. And that's what we want to do with our currency or money. I prefer money over currency, but the dollar bills aren't really money; they're just currency, and there's difference. And one of those differences I'll share, by the way, is these guys. You've probably seen these before. These are Zimbabwe dollars.
Woo! And, some trillions sitting there.
And here we got 20 trillion Zimbabwe dollars. Here we got, here's 100 trillion Zimbabwe dollars. It ain't worth much because every fiat currency in the history of the world has eventually returned to its commodity value, which is paper or cotton or whatever it's made of, right? And so we do have to fix the money for sure.
Yes.
But there is a lot we can do in this over-financialized world in which we live to really create great returns with income property and more recently with cryptocurrencies.
So on a macro level of who you are, I wanted to say something, in this world today, especially in this quick, throw out your opinion, YouTube, get it fast, get it hot, world that we live in, this gaslighting, arena. See, I like you have, we grew up with grandparents and parents from the great generations. And then we've raised the future generations here. I don't want to speak ill of them. I just want to say that they've lived it different. We were the ones that were stuck in between this whole thing. We were told, get a job, make a career, save your money, get a pension, buy a house, do all that stuff. And we were at the end of it where you didn't have all that stuff anymore.
Yeah. In their day, though, that was good advice.
Exactly. It was. Yes.
They were following a different game plan for a different world. And it's all been changing, obviously, but it started changing with, back to Roosevelt and the New Deal, and then much later, Lyndon Johnson and the Great Society. And then, of course, the result that had to happen out of this big government spending, which is 1971, August 15th, Nixon cutting the final cord to the tie of the dollar to gold. Yep. And ever since then, we have seen a massive increase in the concentration of wealth because the money got totally broken. It was somewhat right back then. It wasn't perfect. Hey, nothing's perfect, but it had some tether, and there was some control on government spending, on interference in our lives. With sound money, governments can't get away with as much as they can when the money is debased and it's fake and it's fiat. And so if you fix the money, you do fix a lot of problems. You reduce war or end it altogether, because, hey, wars have to be financed. That's a huge part of it.
I want to
if the bad people can't finance the war, then it's going to keep them in check.
You've said something twice, and you've said money and currency, and I think that we need to quickly explain to everybody the difference of those, and talk a little bit about how currency is just that thing that moves back and forth, and that money is that thing that creates wealth, and maybe give your take on that so that you can give us a definition of the difference between money and currency.
Yeah, sure. So this is probably debatable, but to me, currency is just a symbol. It's the thing that's produced by a government or its central bank, that's like this. It's paper, right? Basically. And these Zimbabwe dollars are a currency, but currencies are current, as the name would imply. They are current for the time, that era, but they don't last forever. And because they're not real, they are by decree or by authority or by fiat. That's literally the definition of fiat, by authority. But money is something that is real, it is limited, and it has utility. And the two ways, I say at least, the two ways that anything in the world forms value is by being scarce and having utility. If it's not scarce and it doesn't have utility, it's not going to have value. Okay. So when you keep creating more and more currency units and you don't limit the supply of them, then the value of each unit is going to go down, obviously. I mean, this is just basic, the most obvious thing in the world. And if and take the conversation away from currency and money for a moment. Look at what's valuable to us in your life, right? Your loved ones. Why? Think about it. Why are your loved ones valuable to you? Because they are extremely rare. There's only a few of them, maybe one of them, right? And they are irreplaceable. Okay. So that's why they have value. That, of course, there's masses of people. There's 7 billion people in the world, right? But your people are scarce, right? There's a very limited supply of them. And that's how anything gets value: scarcity and utility. That's it.
That you just married the fiat world and the importance of finance to hex right there with your statement. And what's going to be a beautiful conversation. But before that, I wanted to pick your brain on something else that I know you know a lot about and is very important to me in this whole scheme of things. And that's inflation. And what that means to us today, what it is. A lot of people don't even understand what it is. And again, I think that once you hear about what Hex's model of inflation is versus everything else, you're going to do it one more time. So give us your definition or your take on inflation.
Well, inflation is a wealth transfer mechanism, really, at the end of the day. It is the most efficient way to transfer wealth from one set of people to another set of people. Many people think taxation is how you redistribute wealth, but taxation is too obvious, it's too noticeable, and it's something that people understand. They get their paycheck, and hey, 30 or 40%, or maybe 50% if you live in the Socialist Republic of California, like I used to. I know you're there. That much of your paycheck is gone, right? The government just takes it. But inflation is more subtle, and it's much more powerful than that, and it's uneven. So it's more complicated to understand inflation. But it is a pickpocket, it is a liar, and a thief, because it steals wealth from people. It is constantly debasing the value of our savings, our stocks, our bonds, and it is a robber and a thief. That's what it is. It's a pickpocket. That's inflation. But there are ways we can use inflation and align our interest with the two most powerful forces that the human race has ever known: governments and central banks. And we can make inflation work for us. And so we can talk about that tonight. But
Yeah.
where did you want me to go with inflation? It's a giant topic.
Well, it is a giant topic, but as what I've heard from some of your streams and some of your points of view is that you found some solutions and some ways to position yourself within this inflation mess. A lot of us are calling it a mess, but you've found some ways to actually capitalize from it is what I'm understanding.
Right.
So here's what so I was talking about the generational thing for a reason, and the YouTube thing for a reason, this gaslighting of this, of the problems that we have today, because I see that, like you said, that the old generation and the great generation, they had a plan, and they had a way of doing things that worked for them. You and I, we watched that get destroyed and a new way of doing things emerge. Yeah. The common guy like myself, the hardworking guy that had a family at home, wife didn't work, I was out working 14 hours a day, 6 days a week. That kind of guy didn't get to participate in, things, financial tools becoming available, because we just had to keep working and working and working harder and harder and harder to make more and more and more to pay the higher bills. And then I watched that great old retirement that my grandfather talked about, going down to nothing, going down to nothing, going down to nothing, going down to nothing, and then nothing being there left for me. But hey, hopefully you can keep working until you're 75 or 80 years old, because you're not going to be able to make it. And then hopefully one of your kids is going to make it, so they can take care of you when you're stuck in a home, or the state can take care of you somehow. So keep voting so that the state will give you enough so you can survive when you're 80 years old, if you make it past that. So
it's a complete scam.
And that was my generation. Now these other generations didn't really have a solution either, but I think that their frustration is, look, I know they want things to change and they're capable of it and they're smart enough, but they don't know what to do. And they just want to they want to open the door like a Marine, throw a grenade in there and close it and blow the whole thing up and go. But I don't think that's the solution. And I hear your message. It's like, hey, we've got to we've been handed lemons, so let's make some lemonade here. And I think that's the way out, not screw this, screw that, blow it all up and let's start over. But how do we work within the system that's here, and how do we advance and move everything forward so that we can all prosper again?
Well, to that end, though, I do want to say one of the best movies ever is Fight Club. Okay. So, that was one of the many plot lines in that brilliantly written movie, which, by the way, the author of the book sold the movie rights for $10,000, if you can believe that. I mean, wow, he should have gotten much more than that. And that's really a great movie, because one of the plot lines was, destroy, blow up all the debt, right? It was the whole consumer society. They put everybody on this treadmill. Madison Avenue sells everybody a lot of stuff they don't really need. And then they all just get in debt, and they're on that cycle where they've got to do exactly what you're saying, what your former life was, right? And it's a scam. So we live in this world that's become more and more financialized, where there's two economies. There's the Wall Street economy and the Main Street economy. And the Main Street economy makes real things. The Main Street economy should be the real economy, but it's not, because the economy is so financialized that the Wall Street crooks and the banksters, and this includes the central bankers and the other bankers, right? The obvious bankers. What they've done is they have taken so many things and just financialized them. They've made derivatives out of derivatives out of derivatives. So I call a derivative the thing about the thing, right? That's my layman's definition, right? The thing about the thing. And so that economy, that Wall Street economy, has become so far detached from the real economy, the Main Street economy, that all the people on Main Street are working like serfs and slaves to support this financialized economy, where they're taking advantage of financial innovation and financial instruments and leverage. And they're taking advantage of something that an economist about 250 years ago wrote about. His name was Richard Cantillon. And he talked about he talked about this idea that when money is being, or currency is being created, and money is moving around in the economy, the people closest to the money will benefit the most. Yep. And that's exactly the type of world in which we live. That's why the concentration of wealth has just shifted so dramatically. I mean, the rich today are so insanely rich compared to what it was like 50 or 70 years ago, right? It's just so out of proportion.
And that's what cryptocurrency can fix, Jason. It really can. It can fix that cotillion effect, because when you have an immutable code that nobody controls, then you are subject to the code, not to a human being or groups of human beings or money being leveraged or systems being leveraged. It is literally, you can program it to be what it is, and it does not change. That was the beauty of Bitcoin that never is seen. That's what Bitcoin brought to the stage.
Right.
And there's some flaws, and we could talk about that, but
there's
tell me
Bitcoin.
There you go. I never seen a real Bitcoin.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing about this Bitcoin that I'm holding up is that this real Bitcoin is actually a fake Bitcoin.
Exactly. The real Bitcoin is the fake Bitcoin.
Because the only real Bitcoin is a Bitcoin you can't actually hold in your hand.
Yeah. So tell me, let's jump into that conversation real quick. What is your take on cryptocurrency? What do you think about cryptocurrencies yourself?
I've been pretty mixed about this, but I've had mixed feelings. But my feeling has not changed since the beginning. Now, I originally learned about Bitcoin in Belize, standing on the beach when it was $74, and it was really hard for me to get my head around it. I just couldn't believe such a thing as this guy was explaining it to me. And then I bought a little bit when it was about $420 or so. And then I bought a bunch more when it was around $18,000 or $19,000. Okay. So that's kind of my history with Bitcoin, just for full disclosure. And I would love nothing more than to see cryptocurrency take over the world and fix the money.
Yeah.
However, I don't think that's going to be a super easy road. And here's why. Like I said before, the two most powerful forces the human race has ever known are governments and central banks. And if you think about it, the main product, like if you think of it, like every business has a product or a service, right? And the main product of any government is its currency. That's how they control the population, through the currency. They can create more of it and devalue all that's in the possession of the people. They can constrict the supply and make the people starve, right? It's terrible that they should be able to do that, but they do. And they don't want to, they're not going to readily or easily give up that control. And so
Yes.
that's the battle we have ahead.
Yes.
But let's hope they lose, because if they lose, human freedom and liberty will ring. Okay.
Yes.
When there is sound money, it doesn't provide everything for freedom and liberty, but boy, it sure gives you a good head start.
Gives you a good head start. And that's what we got our see, this community here is grab the tiger by the tail. And because of your brain and where you go and what you understand, when I explain Hex to you, it's going to blow your mind, because it really does solve all of the things that I've heard you talking about. And, it's funny. You just told me you bought Bitcoin at, so what was it? You heard about it when it was
74, then bought some at about $420,
$420,
and then more at about 18 or 19,000.
Okay. Why did you buy Bitcoin at 18 or 19,000?
Well, I guess I capitulated, but I'm glad I did.
No, but why did you buy it at 19,000? Did you see some utility, some change of money?
No, what I really saw is many years ago, I read Michael Saylor's book, and it wasn't about cryptocurrency. It was just an interesting book about technology. I think, forgive me if I get the name wrong, I got to look this up, but I think it was called like The Age of Context or something. And he just talked about how technology could enable all sorts of incredible stuff. And I thought he was a really interesting guy. So I looked him up one day, and I found all these videos on YouTube, and suddenly he's this big Bitcoin guy. Like that was just a coincidence. I happened to look him up again because I wanted to get him on my podcast back, years ago when I read his book. I thought he was really interesting. And so when I saw him, and more and more institutional investors becoming interested, and Wall Street becoming interested, and Wall Street's so freaking greedy that I know if they're behind anything, they're going to get their way, right? And so when you see funds and ETFs and institutional investors in
those things that you were talking about that were wrong about the
it's not going away if you see all these.
But those are the things that you said are screwing up finance, right?
Well, yes, but look,
but they gave it value to you.
They're just greedy. Okay, so
but it gave it value to you and to Michael Saylor. Michael Saylor bought Bitcoin at 50,000, and you wanted to buy it at 19,000. Now, you guys didn't buy it because of its innovative technology. You guys bought it because price was going up, right?
Well, to some extent, but I thought that maybe this really is a thing because it's catching on. And as an investment, correct? It doesn't concern me very much that it will go away if a bunch of other big institutional investors are in that pool. I just don't think the government's going to take it away if you've got all that investment in it.
Well, let me back up on what you said about Michael Saylor and technology. So he's correct. You can do a lot of things with technology. What Bitcoin did was it proved that it can solve what's called the double spend in cryptocurrencies, in electronic, transactions. It can fix that part. So now we can send back and forth and verify it, and everything's copacetic. Well, that was Betamax. Remember when Betamax came out? You and I remember that.
And VHS, yes.
VHS took it over. Well, that was VHS is a theory.
But Betamax was better than VHS. It should have won.
Exactly, right? So now the other same thing's happening, and technology has the same thing. You either have politics pushing something forward or back, or somebody backing it or whatever, or you have innovation. Something new comes out. And when DVDs came out, the VCR went the way of the dinosaur.
Yep.
Because it was better technology. And then when streaming came out, the DVD went the way of the dinosaur. That's what technology does. So why are we in a technology field and Bitcoin is still the king of the jungle with the first code ever written? And it's been hacked 3 times, by the way, that people don't even know. It had 2 inflation bugs where anybody could have minted as many Bitcoins as they wanted. They literally had to roll back the chain one time. And because a very, very kind developer who found another bug and it didn't do that. He notified everybody. They were able to stop it before it happened on the last bug. So we've got this old spaghetti code that Bitcoin is written in that all it did was prove that double spend cannot happen. Then we have Ethereum proving that money can be programmed. Now you can actually program this cryptocurrency to do things. Unfortunately, the way they built Ethereum, it's broken too. So where's the next technology? You have to move into, you got to keep moving these technologies forward. But the speculation, the investors, that institutional money you're talking about, and all those other things that you've talked about, the tools that they're using to make it shiny and happy and make more people want to come in, are keeping us held back to the old technologies and saying that Bitcoin is the king, when in all actuality, it's not. It just proved one thing. It proved one thing, that cryptocurrencies can actually be a viable source of currency. It just made currency. And then what happened was Ethereum made cryptocurrencies become money. Now you have to fix those two things. See, now in the Hex community, we say, fix crypto, fix the money, fix the world, because crypto's broken. It's a mess out here. We've been in the trenches. Most of the people who are what we call Hexicans, or people who are in Hex, the reason we had gravitated towards this project that Richard Hart built was because he actually was trying to fix crypto. And we were too. All of the people in this community are very, very intelligent, very, very bright. We're not shillers. We're not marketers. We are actually trying to educate the world that, hey, the cryptocurrencies are here and viable, but they ain't there yet. Here's the first one that we've seen that's there. And all this group of like-minded people have gravitated towards this cryptocurrency because it's the first immutable crypto of its type ever. So it works just like Bitcoin.
When did it launch?
It launched in December of 2019.
Okay.
So we've been running for 2 years without a flaw, not a hiccup, not a code break, not a bug, nothing.
So Hex launched right around the time that the repo market was collapsing and the economy probably would have collapsed. And then suddenly COVID-1984 showed up.
Yep.
And they were able to print money with a great excuse. They had good cover for that.
Yep. And we did 10,000x returns over the last 2 years because of the value of this cryptocurrency and what it's doing and how it was programmed, and its inflation model, which I can't wait to talk to you about the inflation model. You're going to love that, because I think when you see the inflation model, you're going to be like, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Scarcity and the things that you talk about, Hex just fits right in. I mean, first of all, what it does is it is just like Bitcoin. You can send it and receive it. It has that same code that Bitcoin has, an immutable code that nobody can change, that is secure across the network, and you can trade it back and forth to people, and just hold on to it. You can do that. Put it in your wallet, hold it there, whatever. The other ability it has, because of Ethereum, because Ethereum makes money programmable now, makes cryptocurrencies programmable. What it does is it gave Hex the unique option of being able to utilize it. And I'll put this in terms that you may understand, like a CD. So you can stake it. You can hold it in limbo for a certain amount of time of your choosing, because you operate the code. Nobody else operates the code. All of the cryptocurrencies out there force you to give your crypto up to somebody else in order to make yield on them, because you guys, all of you guys in your group talk about, hey, we need something that's income generating. We're looking for income generating assets. That's what we're looking for. Yeah. Well, listen to what Hex does. So you get your Hex, you go in and you use the code yourself. Nobody else uses it. And you can stake it for as long as you want. Well, not as long as you want. You could stake it all the way up to 15 years, from 1 day all the way to 15 years. And you make the commitment to yourself. Nobody can change that. Whether you want to go long, if you want to pull it out early, you could pull it out early. You'll get penalized, but you can pull it out early. So it allows you to stake. And what does that do? Well, it allows you to have a place marker for the inflation to enter into your account. So what happens is,
Hex, Gary was explaining that to me at
so it inflates at 3.69% a year, and the stakers get that inflation. So now listen to this though, Jason. So the inflation of Bitcoin gets paid to the miners. You probably know a little bit about the mining and Bitcoin mining. So the inflation of Bitcoin goes to the miners. What do the miners have to do? They got to pay electric bills. They got to buy new equipment. So what do they
Right.
do? They dump that stuff on you right off the bat.
Well, why does the inflation go to the miners? You're saying because the miners aren't paying for it, they mined it. Is that why? Or what do you mean when you say that?
The two different, did I lose there? So you know the two different types of proofing, which is proof of work and proof of stake.
Yeah, right.
So
they have proof of work with Bitcoin.
Bitcoin is a proof of work where the miner runs a ridiculous algorithmic program, makes it waste a bunch of energy, and then it keeps the ledger. That's all it does. Now, in proof of stake, the stakers, the coins being put into that server, they call it a node, putting their confidence in that node, putting value into that node by staking that, gives that node value and gives it the ability to keep the ledger. So it validates itself by holding other people's crypto in it, by being validated by them, and then it keeps the ledger, just like in Bitcoin. So a lot less energy waste, much more efficient system than proof of work. Proof of work is old, dilapidated technology. You don't need it to create.
Understood. But there are other proof of stake coins, right? So how does Hex differ there?
Well, these proof of stake coins make you give your keys up so that they hold it in custody.
Ah, okay. And you don't have to give the keys up.
You don't have to give your keys up in Hex. You own the keys. Nobody owns your keys.
And is Hex the only one that does that?
Only one.
So that is really unique. Yeah.
It's extremely unique. And it gives you the ability to hold on and keep control of your currency, of your money. Yeah. I mean, nobody else can touch it. And that's the problem out there. There's so many hucksters, shucksters, and P.T. Barnums out in the cryptocurrency world that they figure that, hey, we can run one over on people and we'll get them all to give us their crypto and we'll give a little back when they need it and we'll shut the system down and they do all kinds of this just garbage going on out there. And that's why people like myself and the Hex community found Hex, because it's like, wait a minute, what's this? So Richard Hart's the founder, and we watched him for about a year before he even launched the crypto, and he was talking about these things and what he was going to do and how he was going to bring it to market and how we were going to be able, once the code's out there, it's immutable. There's going to be no admin keys. Nobody's going to be able to change Hex. Code is immutable. And that's all it does, is it acts like Bitcoin and it allows you to stake it. And then the inflation of that coin of Hex goes to the miners. Now, here's what's beautiful about that, Jason. Some of this inflation is going out 15 years. So this year's inflation is coming in, and some of it's actually going out 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8. So you're pushing the inflation out into the future every time somebody stakes. How do you feel about that as an inflation model for a currency?
So okay, so someone stakes. So the inflation is Hex inflation. It has nothing to do with dollar.
It has nothing to do with dollars. Yeah, okay. Just like Bitcoin doesn't have anything to do with dollar inflation either. It's Bitcoin inflation.
I don't understand how when someone stakes, that means that they own it at that price, right? There's no inflation can happen to them. Is that what you're saying?
No. So when you stake it, let's just say your Hex is worth a penny and you stake 10 Hex for a year at a penny. That's 10 cents worth of Hex that you staked at that moment. Now, the value of that Hex can go up or down. Not talking about the value of the Hex itself. The only way you can gain off of, unless you're a miner, the only way you can gain off of Bitcoin is to hold on to it long enough and hope the price of it goes up. That's it. In Hex, you've got
you can loan your Bitcoin and do all this other stuff too.
But you got to give your keys up to somebody else.
Yeah, fair enough.
You're doing that again. Yeah. So in Hex, what you're going to do is you're going to stake it and you're going to get the inflation of the coin paid out to you. So on top of Hex gaining value, which if you look at our chart, it's done 10,000 X returns in the last 2 years. So it's only up and to the right. Have we had dips in between? We're at a 60 something or 60% or more dip right now. And Hex is at 14 cents. It started at 0.00056. So it's only gone up and to the right as of yet and had major dips in between. So, its inflation model is far superior to anything else that's out there. And it is in Hex. Yes, it's in Hex, but you gain more Hex. See, the code immutably makes more Hex. And that's what's that's the thing that you're talking about needs to fix money, because you need to take the power of how that money operates out of the hands of human beings. It needs to be an immutable code that can do
Right.
that.
Yeah.
So why not have an inflation model that inflates at a coded rate, that pays out at a coded efficiency, gets paid to what would you call it? You'd call it good actors, or maybe good custodians
Yeah.
of the currency,
Mhm.
versus a bank who's going to go dump it on the market, or a Bitcoin miner who's going to dump it on the market and create that inflation, in the economy. This makes that inflation not able to do that.
So Hex's inflation is limited by code, but there's not a limit to the number of coins then, like with Bitcoin, right?
No, because it's going to inflate every year at 3.69%.
Oh, that is the number.
That is the number. There is a
Okay,
number.
got it.
So it's automatically at 3.69%.
So everyone knows to expect that. So
Mhm.
what do they do then? They stake their coins?
You can, it's obvious they can do whatever they want with them. So the inflation is going into stakes. So the inflation is delayed already, whether it's a day or 2 or 15 years, it's all being delayed. So that inflation is not coming out until that stake matures. When that stake matures, then that hex goes on to market and could be sold. So it's a delayed inflationary process.
Interesting.
With the code.
Yeah.
With the code, not with human beings doing it, but with code. So the other part of it is that this cryptocurrency was built because Ethereum gave it the opportunity to be built. Ethereum allows you to program cryptocurrencies to do things like this.
Yeah. Ethereum changed a lot of stuff, but a lot of people have their qualms about Ethereum. That's for sure.
Well, yeah, because of
Rightfully so, I
the
think.
chain.
Yeah.
The chain has got problems. They created a mess with their chain. Now
Right.
their technology for programming is gorgeous. It did great. Just like Bitcoin's model of stopping the double spend was great. I mean, it proves what we needed for cryptocurrency. And Ethereum made it a process where you can actually program these cryptos. So those two items right there are beautiful, but they failed in a lot of other ways. Like,
okay, so let me ask
Ethereum-
a question. I'm reading the comments here, and you have a very smart audience, I can tell from these great comments. But one of them is from Chaotic Creations, right? FX Studios. BTC Bitcoin is inflationary for the next 120 years. The 21 million cap isn't relevant. Why wouldn't the cap be relevant? Because that's what people say is, hey, there's a limited supply and it has utility, right? That's my thing of the utility. But that would mean that you can't inflate it, right? Because there's just 21 million, and whatever happens with those, people own them, and that's it. It's no more. So, but they say that doesn't mean anything, right? Why doesn't it?
because it's 120 years of inflation. It means nothing to any of us standing here, or our children, or our children's children.
But why is it 120 years of inflation? I don't know what that means. Like, why?
Because they
why
keep
do they say
so by the time Bitcoin all comes out, it's going to take it 120 years because of the halvenings and how Bitcoin comes out.
Oh, they're saying it'll take that long. See, I thought it would all be pretty much mined and out there, like, I don't know the number, but like within the next 7 to 10 years or something.
No,
Yeah.
it's
Okay.
not going to be mined. It's going to be pushed out. Every time they have it comes out slower and slower and slower, as they added that to the code actually too. And so.
The thing that's interesting to me about that is what happens when there are quantum computers, and as computers just get more and more powerful, will they be able to just mine so much faster?
The mining capabilities are, I mean, they're constantly, upgrading, but because of the halvening every year or every 4 years when Bitcoin halvens, they do have to have stronger processors, faster processors. So they're always upgrading their gear. And it's a very wasteful, very dilapidated.
Oh yeah, listen,
system.
I agree with that. You don't have to convince me of that one.
Yeah.
I've seen the mining operations. They're pretty insane.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's ridiculous what that what has developed in the Bitcoin mining arena is just it's the most wasteful thing that I've ever seen. When you don't need it, when proof of stake works far better, it's a much better technology. We've got other things to solve other than trying to continue to make Bitcoin relevant or valuable. That's what all they're doing is they're trying to make those big bags that they all have, those big bags of Bitcoin that they have, continue to have value. And that's my beef with Michael Saylor and what he's doing. It's like you're sitting there saying, writing books about technology and the advancement of it, but you want to keep the oldest thing in cryptocurrency alive when it's not the best thing in cryptocurrency. It doesn't solve all the problems that we need solved that crypto can solve. We can have an interest-bearing crypto that is coded to do so. And that's what Hex is.
I think the big thing people love about Bitcoin is it is truly unmanaged and decentralized.
That's
and
what Hex is.
There's, well, I mean, if it's created, so Richard Hart, right? Is Hex now out of the control of any one person?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
He doesn't control it.
Yeah.
Now in Bitcoin, that I can argue with you that it can be changed, and it has been changed. The halvening wasn't part of Satoshi's white paper, wasn't part of Satoshi's programming. That was added later. They are adding things to it. In fact, some of the things that Satoshi had in there aren't part of it.
You just don't want, well, I mean, one weakness of any cryptocurrency, right, would be if the government can go and arrest the CEO and shut it down, right? You don't want that. So that's why.
Well, see, they can't shut it down. Even if
if
Richard Hart died or if he was arrested for whatever, I don't know what they'd arrest him for, but if they were to, Hex continues to do what Hex does.
Yeah, that's good.
It doesn't matter.
That's good.
Just like Bitcoin, it is immutable. And that's what I meant by immutable. You cannot change it. You can't do anything.
Yeah.
All of the people are asking that I bring Richard in here because they want to hear the technicals. And I'm trying to have a broad conversation with you. Hex is so complex. They want me to talk about the burning feature. Look, guys, I know about all this stuff, but Mr. Hartman doesn't need to know all the details yet about how these things go. He's just learning what Hex is. So there's no need to get him deeper and deeper into the rabbit hole until after he's understood what it is. Mr. Hartman has an idea of macroeconomics and a handle on it like nobody's business. So if he sees what Hex is even just a little bit, he's going to go do his own research and see how it could fit in. Because I mean, I know you're looking for solutions.
Oh, definitely.
I'm looking for solutions.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm
We're
from the
all
other
looking
side of
for
the fence.
solutions, yeah.
I mean, I worked my whole life, hard, and I was looking for something that was going to fix things. And that's what I found with Hex is this thing can fix cryptocurrency, and cryptocurrency has the capability of fixing the money, which could fix the world.
Speaking of fixing the money, share my screen for a moment.
Okay, let's do that.
Because this chart, your viewers will love this. And you've probably seen it before, but this is how broken the money is. I mean, what a disaster, right? Federal Reserve was one of their stated missions was to even out these ups and downs in the economy, to preserve the value of the money, the currency. And here we are. It's just gone to hell in a handbasket. It's unbelievable.
Everybody screams, the dollar, the dollar, the dollar, the dollar. It's trouble. It's in trouble. It's in trouble. But it's the only thing the world has. I mean, everything else is just as destroyed or wrecked, or there is no other option. But then that's why I see Hex as being so important, because it is an immutable currency and money, because Hex is both, which is unique. And that's the other thing that I think I would like to wrap your head around, is that Hex is actually both of those things. It's a currency because it acts like Bitcoin, where you and I can exchange it for value. So I can give you Hex and you can give me Hex back, and nobody can stop that from happening. But the other thing is you can stake it and it turns it into money, because now it's gaining yield, and it's gaining yield under your control. Yeah. And here's one of the other cool things that puts us in a now you give the person who has the money so much control that, listen to this. So like a CD, if you pull that out early, you will get a penalty. Just like if you pull your hex out early, you're penalized. Well, that money doesn't go to Richard Hart, or, that money goes to the staker class. So 50% of those penalties are actually going to be paid to all of us who continue to stake.
Yeah.
So on top of the 3.69% inflation, you're also getting all of the emergency end stakes that people are doing. We had one the other day where on average we get paid. So the marker for your stake is a share. You get what's called a T share. It's a value of that hex at the moment that you're staking. So your hex is burnt and goes away. So hex is kind of inflationary, deflationary, because that hex goes away. But it's also held by a marker, a T-share marker. That T-share sits out in the future and then gets interest paid to it every day by that inflation model that I was talking about. Now, as that interest gets paid, on average, we were making about 6 hex per day. On one day, there was a monster emergency end stake. Somebody pulled millions of hex out in one day, emergency end staked them. We believe it was a hack. What happened is that hex got pulled out, and we all made like 24 hex that day. Wow. Because we were staked on that day. Yeah. So now on top, you actually get to act like the bank too. You have that much control of your money at that point, where not only is it a currency, but it's also a money that can increase in value by gaining yield and getting penalties. So you act as kind of the quasi bank. Yeah. It's a really great model.
Yeah, it's the dream of sound money and freedom, and being free from the centralized control is going to be it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. Well, I'm hoping, I know we're running out of time here. I don't want to keep you too, just like 0 dark 30 over there in Florida, but I really appreciate you coming on. Is there any last words you want to leave us with on crypto and macroeconomics?
Just any questions you have, happy to answer them, but getting control of the money is super important. Taking advantage of inflation is super important, because that's going to be the game plan of the powers that be. I mean, they are just moving money into their camp by inflating away the value of the dollars of the poor and the middle class. It's just it's a very unfair system, and very few people really understand it. But it's interesting, because as I was talking about this stuff back in 2004, 2005, very few people really related to it or understood it. I'd be at a conference on the stage talking about, monetary policy and what a scam it was and all this, and it's like a few people got it. But when the cryptocurrency revolution caught hold in the, maybe, I don't know, it sort of progressed along the way, but 2012-ish, right? 2014-ish, right? It really started rolling. And a lot more people started to understand this. Like if you said the word fiat money before that, nobody knew what you were talking about, right? They thought you're talking about a car, a fiat car, right? What does that mean? Now, lots of people understand that. And just the understanding is a huge move forward. That is huge progress, folks. So it's really good news that people are starting to realize the absolute power grab and scam that is being perpetrated on not only every American, but on the world. It's unbelievable. So I commend you for getting the message out there, and keep it up. And I'm going to check out Hex. Maybe I'll become a Hex again.
Well, you go ahead and I want you to, I really would like you to do some research on it, Jason, because I respect your brain.
I get into this stuff. I love going down the rabbit hole.
And will you come on again now so we can find out what you found out about it?
Sure. Yeah.
Cool. And I've got Ken coming on, your buddy Ken. Ken and I met in Scottsdale a few weeks back, and we just became fast friends. I freaking love that guy, man. He is just awesome. I know you and Ken are buddies too. So
he's a good guy.
He is. He's great, man. So, well, you tell everybody about your YouTube channels and what you got going on, so we can start sending some folks over there.
Yeah. So my podcast, my main podcast is called The Creating Wealth Show. I also host another one called The CryptoCast. So I've interviewed a lot of crypto people and been very fascinated by the topic. And but mainly we talk about real estate investing, macroeconomics, how you can beat the central planners, and be free of their evil plans for us. And then I have a YouTube channel. And by the way, I see someone talking about John McAfee. I interviewed John McAfee, and that was a fascinating interview, by the way.
His interviews are fascinating.
Yeah, I interviewed John McAfee. I asked him all about his time in Belize and everything. He was a great interview. And of course, Ron Paul's been on, and all the usual suspects. So all these great people. So yeah. So check out the Creating Wealth Show, or just look up Jason Hartman on YouTube. You'll find my YouTube channel, and lots more information there. And just happy to contribute to the knowledge base, and happy you're doing it as well.
Right on. Thanks, Jason. And thanks for coming. And we'll catch you the next time.
All right. Happy investing, everybody.
Thanks. Take care. All right, Gary.
That was a really good stream. I really enjoyed that. I feel like,
yeah, and I was looking at the chat room, and of course, all the little Hexicans got their panties all up in a bunch. Want RH to talk to him and all this. Look, guys, look. Yep. The captain knows what he's doing. I know how to talk to people. I know how to break things to them. You guys want everybody to get. You don't feed people information like Hex with a fire freaking hose. I don't care who you are, what you think. You don't just fire hose them with this stuff. It's unattractive. It doesn't make people want to look at it even further. You have a wide open conversation about it. Touch various points. Make people intrigued so that they will go and look at it deeper, and then they can have those questions answered. So thank you for being diligent and being Hexicans. I know you guys all want more, but just be patient, guys. It's going to take us some time, but we will get it out there. We will get it out there. We need to do this right. Okay.
So I wanted to say before I sign off is, Jason, again, his expertise in real estate, he has his own website. On his website, he has consulting. If you really value the time of something like a one-on-one, hire him, pay for services. Don't be a cheapskate. You guys got money now. You're some of the wealthiest people in crypto. Contract some of these people to help you roll into real estate, roll out of real estate, things like that, because they have 30 years of experience that you do not, and they can help you, roll that cash flow or that equity back into the product you love, which is. And
just because cryptocurrency is great doesn't mean that other assets aren't also. So go and diversify yourselves into some good diversification assets, like real estate, which is probably tops next to crypto as far as I'm concerned. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and put the stream down. I think we're going to hang out in the green room for a minute with Jason, Gary. And I appreciate you again, man. Thanks for all the good work, buddy.
Excellent.
All right, guys, we'll talk to you on Friday night for the FN Hangout. And then I believe next week we might even have Mr. McElroy on. Catch you guys.